By the age of 30, he had built one of the largest empires in all of history, stretching from Greece to the edge of India. He never lost a single battle, and then at just 32 years old, he suddenly died. This is Alexander the Great. 2,300 years ago, one young king set out to conquer the entire world. And astonishingly, he very nearly succeeded. The story begins on the rugged northern edge of the Greek world. Alexander was born in 356 BC, Prince of the Kingdom of Macedon. As a boy, he was tutored by none other than the great philosopher Aristotle. And at just 12, he tamed a wild, unrideable horse named Bucephalus, his companion for life. But a throne in the ancient world was never won gently. His father, Philip II, had forged the finest army in the world. Then, at a royal wedding, Philip was suddenly assassinated by one of his own guards. And so, at just 20 years old, Alexander became king. The Greek city saw a boy on the throne and rose up in revolt. Alexander answered by wiping the rebel city of Thebes off the map, sparing only its temples. No one questioned his rule again. Now, he turned his eyes east. His target was the largest empire the world had ever seen, Persia. In 334 BC, he crossed into Asia with around 40,000 men. At the river Granicus, he smashed the first Persian army sent to stop him. At Gordium, legend says he solved an impossible knot by simply slicing it with his sword. Finally, the Persian king himself rode out to crush this Greek upstart. His name was Darius III, ruler of millions, king of kings. At the Battle of Issus, Alexander charged straight at Darius, and the great king turned and fled. Alexander captured Darius's own family and treated them with surprising honor. Instead of chasing Darius, Alexander marched down the coast. He took the island fortress of Tyre after a brutal 7-month siege. Then Egypt welcomed him as a liberator and crowned him pharaoh and a living god. On the coast, he founded a new city that still bears his name, Alexandria. Then came the battle that would decide the fate of the world. In 331 BC at Gaugamela, Darius gathered a truly massive army. He was outnumbered perhaps 5-1, but Alexander's tactics were flawless. He punched a gap straight toward Darius, who fled the field once more. The heart of the Persian Empire and all its unimaginable treasure now belonged to him. But for Alexander, an empire was never enough. He seized the great palace of Persepolis and burned it to the ground. He pushed on through the mountains of Central Asia and married a princess named Roxana. And still he drove his exhausted men further east, all the way into India. There, at the Hydaspes River, he faced King Porus and a wall of war elephants. Alexander won again, but the battle was savage, and his army had finally had enough. For the first time, his soldiers refused to follow him. Weeping with frustration, Alexander finally agreed to turn back toward home. But he led part of his army through a scorching desert, and thousands died of thirst. The invincible conqueror had finally met an enemy he could not defeat. Back in the great city of Babylon, the end came without warning. In 323 BC, Alexander fell ill with a raging fever. Within days, at just 32 years old, the conqueror of the world was dead. Asked who should inherit it all, he reportedly whispered only to the strongest. With no clear heir, his generals tore the empire apart in decades of war. But his conquests spread Greek language and ideas from Egypt to India. This was the Hellenistic Age, a whole new world born from one man's ambition. Alexander conquered almost everything he ever saw and died dreaming of more. In 15 short years, a single man had completely redrawn the ancient world. He didn't run out of battles to win. He simply ran out of world to conquer.